And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. Thank you to all of you that are subscribed to the podcast, which of course you can get on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever else you get your podcast. Cover 3 is there. And also, hello and thank you to those of you who are watching us on YouTube, youtube.com/cover3. That is the way you get the multi-platform excellence. It's a Thursday, and so we are here with winners. We are here with our favorite episode of the week. It is the Locks Pod, and a very astute observation made by Danny Cannell, because we came out the gates dropping like 5 or 6 locks when we might have only had maybe 9 or 10 games. I mean, in terms of the percentage of action that we had, I put up a 9 burger last week, and we were probably only had 29 or 30 games. We've got 45 games on the slate. When you take it from Thursday night Fun Belt action, Arkansas State at App State, all the way to, yes, we are back with BYU after dark, Texas State at BYU out at Provo, 10:15 Eastern time. Danny, were you able to narrow your list? Because on the group chat, it sounded like you were ready to roll out a dozen. I was setting the over under at 11.5 on how many picks you were going to drop today.
Well, I was just curious, like how much time I needed to block off for the Locks podcast. I was wondering if it's going to be a 3-hour special. Like, do we need an intermission in this one? Because, we get these packets of information that we get, a lot of, research you can do, and the packets keep getting thicker. The slate is longer. I think the key is, with all of these options, the critical component is to be selective, to find the locks and ignore a lot of the noise, ignore a lot of the chatter. So I sliced and diced a lot of the picks, just kept dropping them from the slate. So I focused and dialed in.
So that means you're going to tell us that all these ones that like didn't make the card, you're going to tell us on Saturday. It's like, I had that one. I left it on the cutting room floor.
Here's what's going to happen. Is I have the ones that I've sliced and diced down to the selective few. I still have notes on a lot of other games. And if you guys go in on them, then I can easily be convinced like, oh yeah, I did like that one kind of. But then like Barton or Tom bring some nugget, or you can get on board with me. Then I'm like, all right, I'm in. So it's going to be a little bit of a practice and discipline here today.
It was hard maintaining discipline going through the board because there's just so many cozy, comfortable Big Ten names that I remember and recognize and feel good with. And it's just going through all these games like, oh man, I could pick every single one of them, but it's also the first game of the year for all of them. So I don't know if I should put too much stock in. So how many Big Ten games are on the card? I guess you're going to have to listen and find out.
The hard thing for me this week is that with a limited slate of games, limited games to choose from, you get your few games that you like, you sort of highlight, then you start digging, doing your research on, and you get this really robust opinion that's well-informed and analytical, and you get a lot of like Tom Fernelli type of sound bites you can throw in there. This slate, much more gut-driven, and I didn't quite have the time to do all the like this team versus this team is this and that and the other. It's just sort of like, I kind of like this one. So we'll see. Let's see if my gut's any good.
Well, you guys saw the text group last night, so you guys know I was very deep in my bag.
You're in
this show today.
Analytics rabbit hole.
You get like Rorschach splatter tests, or whatever they're called. We're coming our way.
What was going
on?
So disciplined Danny Cannell was the week winner. Just only threw out 4 locks, and made it. You made your flight, I guess, since you did arrive home, and when we got to catch up, 4-1 on the week. So, I mean, are you feeling like that was the right approach to be able to keep it skinny, keep it thin? You had either unity, agreement, or a fight. It was a very active and communal approach to the week. So what are the big lessons as now you improved to 23-19 overall on the season after a 4-1 week?
Again, discipline. I exercised some discipline last week. The moneyline sprinkle was added in there as well, calling the Kentucky upset over Tennessee. So I think I have another one that I like from the SEC that will sprinkle on people at the end, but selective process. That's what I'm going to try to demonstrate today.
Barton, you were 4-2, continuing your winning ways. You are still the leader on the season. What's on the notepad as we continue to move forward and work to improve?
4-2 And my 2 losses, one was Kansas returning a kick in garbage time to cover against West Virginia, and the other is an under. So, just continuing to learn from my mistakes, continuing to try to cut out those under temptations and stay on the over train.
The over Army.
The over Army.
Listen, the under was the right play. We lost, but the under was the right play.
It was not the right play.
Yes, Sam Hartman popping off a lot of explosive plays through the passing game is not the Virginia defense that we were expecting.
This is not 2017 Dave Clawson. This is the new age Dave Clawson. Never bet an under with Wake.
4-4 for Tom Fornelli. You got the lock fight win against Danny, and of course we had our lock unity. Y'all's lock unity, Pitt plus 14, sneaking in there with the 12-point Miami win. And then, what are the lessons and the takeaways?
Wasn't really upset with any of the results that came my way. The only thing I was mad about with myself was that Western Kentucky plus 14 at UAB. That was more gut than anything. And I just kind of threw it in there at the end. And I'm kind of wishing I hadn't, because that was the difference between a winning week and a losing week for me. So that's a lesson to be learned going forward. Don't just throw something on there because you're feeling, you got your dandruff putting in all these locks.
And I ignored weather, and I cannot believe that as a student of the Tom Fornelli Wonder Academy that I ignored the 18 to 20 mile an hour crosswinds in South Bend, Indiana, and was out here taking an over. And also Notre Dame unders was a principal play to start the season. And sure enough, that game's 12-7. That was incredibly misguided, but I did finish with a winning week, 5-4. That puts me at 27-22 on the season. Gentlemen, y'all ready to lock it up?
Well, before we do, I would like to point out to Barton that Chip took 3 overs last week and went 0-3 in them. Just for people at home to know, the over Army doesn't win every single war it fights, no matter what it tells you.
Well, just when the general's leading the charge, we don't lose. So just,
That reminds me of just like what would happen when I'd get out of my element, like when I'd go visit other schools, like when I go to party at NC State or Wake with my friends there, like I kind of lose control, right? You just get a little loose playing somebody else's game and get yourself in trouble. So that's why you just got to roll in deep with your crew and you set the tone. So the over Army, I need as many warriors behind me as we can. All right, let's lock it up.
We're picking locks. My Blue Plate special 5-star locks are coming.
Since 2005, when Service Academy's
Come get these locks. 5-star master lock. Lock it up.
The under is 33-9-1. We've gone over it a million times.
You want these locks?
I'm living and dying every point, every cover.
As I toss this to Discipline Danny, who's got his the honors on the tee box after a 4-1 week, I will mention that I've got 15 logs available. I will not be using them all, but I've got preparation for 15 logs. So we will try to work with some nice pace here. But Danny, why don't you get us started?
All right, I am going to start off Friday night. CBS Sports Network with your boy in studio doing pre, half, and post-game coverage on the Louisiana-UAB game. All right. So now, you hear broadcasts all the time. I can't comment on this game. I'm calling this game. I'm not calling the game, just studio coverage. So no insider access, no knowledge past, hey, what we have right here. Okay. So are you guys aware, since UAB's program was shut down, and they came back, who knows how many times they've lost at home since then?
Zero.
None.
Zero.
Yeah. Correct?
Yeah, Bill Clark promised. He said, if you bring our program back from the dead, we'll never lose at home ever again.
Correct. So he has lived up to that promise. They are I can get 2.5.
Yep.
In this game. They're a 2.5-point dog playing against the Louisiana team that came in 11-win team previous, beats Iowa State, and they're off to the races. We even mentioned the playoff word in there. Well, guess what? Levi Lewis, who's an exciting quarterback, he's got 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You know how many already this season? You know how many through all of last year? 4. So he's already matched his interception total from last year. Spencer Brown, UAB's all-time leading rusher, is getting back up to speed. Give me Bill Clark and UAB at home to continue the streak. And if I'm getting 2.5, why not take them?
Hell
Love
yeah.
it. I love it because I'm not jumping in on, although it is one of the games that was on the card that got cut at the end. But this is also one of my favorite principles. It's that Friday night home dogs. They always do great. You don't want to take a road favorite on a Friday night.
So are you in studio in New York for this?
No, I'll be in studio right here. Just a little better lighting and maybe a little bit better attire. That's about the only thing that'll be different.
Okay, we'll still be getting the FSU Giants Falcons little angle right there.
Might have to switch around some of the pictures in the background, but we'll see what they say.
So watch that CBS Sports Network, and you can watch CBS Sports Network through the CBS Sports app. All you got to do is log in through your cable provider on your mobile device or on any of the OTT devices where you can find the CBS Sports app. Catch Danny pre, half, and post game analysis for UAB against Louisiana in Birmingham. I love it. Is there any Thursday night action? Anybody want to jump on App State, Ark State? Yeah, I'm not either. Oh.
Tom, Friday night, Illinois. You got anything on it?
Yeah.
There we go.
That's the reason I couldn't. That's really one of the reasons I couldn't lock up UAB, because I'll be watching a different game at the time. I'll start. Yeah. Okay. Illinois +20 at Wisconsin on Friday night. Disrespectful line. Disrespectful. Just we all know that Illinois beat Wisconsin last year, but we've talked about it. We talked about it in the Big Ten West win totals. We're looking at this Wisconsin team. Jonathan Taylor's gone. We knew that. That's to me, that's a big deal, in that Jonathan Taylor might be more talented than any running back Wisconsin's ever had, but it's not a huge deal in that we've seen Wisconsin replace good running backs time and time again. So I'm not that concerned about it. There are some key departures on the offensive line, but this is Wisconsin. So I don't know how concerned to be about that, because they've always got some sort of 6'6", 345-pound beefy boy waiting in the background to step up. Their leading receiver, Quintez Cephas, is gone. That, to me, somewhat big, because that passing game last year didn't have a ton of explosive playmakers. Cephas was the guy. He's gone. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to step up and replace him right away. But what we didn't expect was for Jack Cohn not to be playing, and Jack Cohn is out. Foot surgery, out indefinitely. So in steps Graham Mertz, who is a highly rated recruit, was a top 100 guy, I believe. Yes.
70, I think.
4-star.
Composite, by composite.
Yeah. So he's a top 100 guy in the composite. He's probably the highest rated quarterback recruit Wisconsin's had in a long time, but it's also his first start. He did see limited time last year, and he was 9 for 10, which is really great, but he was also in, garbage time when Wisconsin was up late against bad teams. So I don't know how much stock to put in that. Then I look at this Illinois team who, overperformed a little bit last year. If you look at their metrics, like, they really shouldn't have won 6 games based on the numbers. They had the comeback win against Wisconsin. They had the ridiculous comeback win a couple weeks later against Michigan State, in which they came back from like 25 down in the second half to win that game. But they also have a very strong offensive line where everybody's back on that unit. They have a senior quarterback. They have a good wide receiver group, which has been infused with some talent with a transfer, Brian Hightower from Miami. They've got Luke Ford at tight end, a 4-star player that started at Georgia, transferred back home to Illinois. They also have Daniel Barker, who was a good tight end for them in the passing game last year. And they don't have a top end running back. Losing Reggie Corbin hurts, but they have a lot of guys that they have in a committee that they can use and they feel comfortable with. And I think that offensively, this Illinois team is going to be good enough to stay within this spread against Wisconsin, a Wisconsin offense that is unproven and untested at this point. So I think that Wisconsin is going to be conservative in this game. I think Paul Chryst is going to rely on his defense to win the game for him and not try to do too much. So when I look at the spread, I just say, man, there's not going to be enough points scored in this game for Wisconsin to cover nearly 3 touchdowns. So give me 20 points in the Illini.
Many of those reasons are why I'm locking up the under. I think I can get this at 51.5.
Let's see. You can get, 51.5 is the best I can do for you.
Yeah, I'll take 51.5. And you've mentioned this before. Lovie Smith has a good game plan against Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got an elite defense, and I think that they're not going to try to ask much from Graham Mertz in terms of putting Wisconsin in a position to lose this game. I don't see many points. And where are we at now? 18-11 teams playing their very first game against each other. The under has hit. So I'm not gonna get out here like I did on the SEC week 1 when I told our listeners to blind bet every single under, and then LSU Mississippi State happened along with a few other overs. But I'm gonna pick and choose some unders carrying that principle. And in terms of the matchup, I think that this Illinois-Wisconsin one is definitely there. So I'm gonna take the under 51.5.
I've got an agreement on here as well. I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with the great Illinois native Tom Fornelli.
Yes.
I'm not gonna parrot back any of the things that Tom said. He explained my position well. This is one of these where it's just, all right, I could be wrong. Like Wisconsin could be a lot better than I'm giving them credit for. Illinois could be a lot worse than I'm giving them credit for. But right now, I'm getting a line that implies these teams are further apart than I think they are. And so before either I'm going to fix it or Vegas is going to fix it. And so I'll go ahead and, go with my gut on this one first week. So give me Illinois.
All right. Who wants it?
I'll go. Let's just get the dentist out of the way here.
Ooh.
Because the dentist and I agree on this one. So the dentist, by the way, picked Arkansas last week, but didn't have enough confidence to actually give it out as a lock. So he is kicking himself for that one. But here's his pick this week. And I'm in agreement with it. Auburn offense has been getting destroyed in the media after a loss to South Carolina. Everyone is shitting on Morris and Malzahn. What better defense on earth is there to get right against an Ole Miss? Auburn scored 30, 22, and 29 against Arkansas, South Carolina, Kentucky. All teams with significantly better Ds than Ole Miss. Meanwhile, Ole Miss dealt with its first poor offensive showing, dishing out 8 turnovers, still managed to score 21 while Corral was completely unable to deal with a D that dropped 8 into covers. I think Ole Miss has worked on it, not pressing it, and take what the D gives you all week, hoping to turn that performance into a learning experience for Corral. I expect a much better showing this weekend. Back on the Ole Miss overtrain. That Arkansas game got the line down to open at 66, but I think it's already moved up to 70.5. Both teams get well into the 30s. Give me the over. Huge. I agree. I support the Dennis breakdown, just like I supported Tom's breakdown. 2 locks in, no breakdowns necessary. Give me the over. Over Army Mount up.
I can get you 70, which is disgusting, but I can get it for you.
We'll take it. You got to these days, you got to get at least one over 70 plus every week. Otherwise, you're not doing it right.
Just to feel alive, just to get in there and just know that you got to get it. You got to get in there with it. Love it. I'll take us to the back, I guess maybe 2, 3. Yeah. At this point, man, almost several years ago, but 3 years ago, Barton Simmons introduced the idea of the University of Residual Income. And at that time, it was Scott Frost and UCF. And while this is a far different program, and while this is, not exactly done the same way, and the opponents are very, very different, much more challenging, but I think that we have, from a betting perspective, another University of Residual Income status. And I think the Crimson Tide have reached it. I don't know if there is a spread against an SEC opponent, against these SEC opponents, that is going to be appropriate. And so 21 is absolute free money in this Alabama-Tennessee game. I mean, this is so Nick Saban's 9-4 against the spread against Tennessee. And since 2010, Tennessee is 2-10 against the spread as a home double-digit dog. And they've lost their last 5 in a row against the spread when they are a home double-digit dog. I just think that Alabama is going to roll in this game. And if you could throw in Tom's fade Jarrett Garantano principle here, but I don't see any let up or let down after the Georgia win. I think 21 is just cashing a check. So give me the Tide minus 21 in the SEC on CBS Game of the Week.
Tom, are you fighting here? Because I seem to remember this is an upset special.
Oh, yes.
I'm actually.
Should we wait for moneyline sprinkles on this one?
I'm actually doing radio in Knoxville on Friday because of a show that I was on before the season. That's where I made my debut that I think Tennessee is going to knock off Alabama. So they're having me back on the show this week just to check in with me to see if I still think it's going to happen. And will it? We'll find out in the moneyline sprinkles.
That game, by the way, you can not only see on CBS, but you can stream it, CBS All Access, CBSSports.com, pregame, halftime, postgame, courtesy of CBS Sports HQ, CBS Sports HQ through the CBS Sports mobile app or CBSSportsHQ.com for all of your needs from Knoxville as Alabama just runs it up with another impressive win against the Vols.
All right. I'm going to go to a game I think that I'm going to have at least one agreement on based on conversations we've had here and we've had on HQ during the week. I'm taking Minnesota +3 at home against Michigan to open its season on Saturday night. As we've talked about, this is a Michigan team with a lot of question marks on offense. It's Joe Milton taking over at the QB spot. I like Joe Milton. I thought he was the guy that was going to win the job to begin with, whether McCaffrey transferred out or not. But Ronnie Bell is the only returner really of note in the passing game at the receiver position. They have some young players that are talented, but we're yet to see them. Ronnie Bell also has a lot of drop issues, which makes him hard to depend on as your number one guy. And I do think Zach Charbonnet is going to be better this year. He's healthier, and I think the offensive line is still good, but still, there are questions about this offense, and I don't have those same questions about Minnesota's offense. I think Tanner Morgan's a very good quarterback. We know Rashad Bateman is a very good receiver. Chris Ottman-Bell was a guy who didn't have the volume of receptions last year, but he had some big catches, and he is a big play threat. They have a great offensive line. There are question marks defensively. That is the one concern I have, but still, I do not think the Gophers should be 3-point dogs at home to this Michigan team. Let's not forget, this is a Minnesota team that won 11 games last year. When was the last time Michigan won 11 games in a season? And it's not like Minnesota's was fluky. Yes, I called them fraudulent early in the year because it was kind of fluky in September. But then the Big Ten conference schedule started, and that team took the confidence it built up with those wins in September and really took it to the rest of the conference. They picked up wins against Penn State. They beat up Auburn in a bowl game, and most people had Auburn winning that game. This is a team that is good and has been getting better each year since PJ Fleck's been there. And I think that following an 11-win season, this is going to be another good Minnesota team. Chip, I know you've picked them to win the division, and I think that they're going to win on Saturday night. So give me Minnesota +3.
I mean, do we just want to roll call this? Because there's one. Anybody else?
I'm on the fence. It is on my notes in the margin. I was hoping this would come up later in the show, so I'd sort of see how things played out to see like whether this was lock number 12 or lock number 6. Because I've got a lot of uncertainty in terms of what I lay out there as well. If I'm allowed to, I might just circle back and see if I need a little extra ammo on this one. But it is very much under consideration.
When we hit stop on the recording is when things are final. So the clock's running, but yes, we will allow that. But right now, absolutely lock agreement. And a little bit of it is a put your money where your mouth is, where I do think Minnesota is going to win the Big Ten West. But a big part of that is to win here and at a field goal. I mean, heck, depending on what happens with this line, like if you could get the hook too, sure, go ahead and go and get that. But yeah, I like Minnesota to win this game straight up. So if I can get 3 points of wiggle room on it, I will take the Gophers at home. I mean, this is like the PJ Fleck motivation special. First game after you've been fired up, big old brand like Michigan coming in there. He is going to welcome all of the ABC cameras behind the scenes to be able to let us see everything that he's saying in the locker room. So I'm all about it.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was saying my other favorite thing about this game, and it won't affect either team because they're both used to it. But for a Big Ten opener, first game of the season, temperature is going to be 30 degrees at kickoff.
Ooh, yeah, I did see some snow out there in Minnesota. Yeah. So here's why, because we do our show on Tuesday. We go early and make our picks, and I'm on the same side of Tom on a lot of these, and Chip when we did our preview. I'm trying to use discipline, and like, I don't love the first week of college football because you don't know what you're going to get. So I'm trying to really exercise the discipline. I like what you guys are thinking. I did find a stat though that has me a little bit concerned on some of the matchups that I think we're going to go through today. There have been 11 ranked versus ranked matchups this season. We have 4 this weekend. This is one of them. The favorites have won 10 of 11 in those, going 10-1 against the spread. Just a nugget that was out there, but I like where I would probably be your side, but again, discipline. That's what I'm trying to exercise right here.
I respect that.
Especially in 2020, not all ranked teams are alike.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's yeah. So I think the thing that's got me tempted on this is the uncertainty at quarterback with Joe Milton. Because I do think he is very talented, but Tanner Morgan is sort of a sure thing. I get the offensive coordinator is new. Maybe we shouldn't just assume all is going to be hunky-dory there, but Joe Milton is, in his high school career, 3 years, he never completed more than 50% of his passes. He never had more than 1,600 yards passing. I don't know. I mean, he's talented, but how quickly can you just, snap your finger and have an accurate passer in his first start? So I'm just a little bit hesitant to bet on that quarterback matchup without having seen Joe Milton really, I don't know, just on the big stage, just have it on his shoulders. So that is why I'm leaning Minnesota here. And we'll see if I get there by the end of the show.
I could do it too with Barton. Let's just take a little pause though. I need to take a breath and circle back to that one. All right. Anybody else? Any other plays in this game?
Did I hear a quick little dirt bike offense soundbite?
We got to see if he can actually get the ball to the dirt bikes. Yeah. But if he does, then I think the dirt bikes might become a regular feature of Michigan
dirt
game.
Bike offense could be fun.
All right. I'll take us to the ACC. Third ranked Notre Dame is a 11 point. I think it's around 11
Depending on what side you are, you might be able to get 10.5, but I don't know.
I don't think I want 10.5. So I don't think anybody believes that Notre Dame is the third best team in the country. I think this will all be adjusted when Ohio State puts a beat down on Nebraska, and you'll see them vault into that 3 spot most likely. Pitt came through for us all last week against Miami. It might not have been the easiest cover, but they did cover. I think Joey Yellen played pretty admirably in relief of Kenny Pickett. I don't know if Kenny Pickett's going to go again this week, coming off that ankle injury where he didn't even travel to Miami. Trying to find out if he is. I don't know if it matters. I see Pat Narduzzi, who's 4-1 at Pitt versus top 5 opponents. The only one was in the ACC championship where they got beat down by Clemson. So that puts him at 4-0 in the regular season versus top 5 opponents. Brian Kelly in his tenure at Notre Dame is 1-4-1 against the spread versus Pitt. I'm very fascinated to see if Fornelli goes under here because the number is so low. No one's expecting any points. It's at 43.5. But if it's going to be a low-scoring game, which I think benefits Pitt, it's in Pittsburgh. Give me Pitt in those 11. Like, give me an ugly Notre Dame win, which we've seen a couple of them. Give me another one. I think Pitt can keep it within 10, maybe even a touchdown. So I'm taking the Pitt Panthers here.
I am not taking the under this game. I'm taking Pitt plus 11 with you. Lock agreement. This is, Chip, you were making fun of Brian Kelly about it after last week's Louisville game about how, that we were settling for goals and not touchdowns in the red zone. That was not a problem that was limited only to the Louisville game. That has been a problem for Notre Dame all season. They've had 21 red zone possessions. Only 12 of them have ended with a touchdown. 4 of them didn't end with any points at all. And that's been a problem that's going through the season. And now they're facing a Pitt team who defensively, like I sent you guys the stat last night. Notre Dame hasn't really been able to pass the ball at all this year. There's no explosive playmakers in the passing game. It has to run the ball with Kyron Williams. Pitt's rush defense is allowing running backs, opposing ball carriers, 0.05 yards before contact per rush. They are not letting them go anywhere without getting a body on a body at some point. They're disrupting in the backfield. No other rush defense has been close. And then you look at Pitt's red zone defense. They've allowed only of the let's see, I got the numbers right here. They've got a 38.5% touchdown conversion rate, which ranks as the 5th best in the nation. But the difference is the 4 teams with a better number than Pitt, none of them have had 10 red zone defensive possessions yet. Pitt has. Pitt's had more than any of them, and it's been better than any of them. So this is a clash of Notre Dame's weakness against Pitt's strength, and it's Notre Dame's strength against Pitt's strength. And while I am concerned about Kenny Pickett and whether or not he's able to play, I agree with Danny. I don't know if it matters that much, because if Louisville's defense was able to limit Notre Dame to 12 points last week, I think Pitt's defense is going to be able to have some success too. Not 12-point success, because I think there was a lot of Notre Dame in that score, but I do think that at a bare minimum, in what is going to be a low-scoring game, Pitt is going to cover this spread, because I just don't see Notre Dame being able to put together a lot of successful offensive drives that end in touchdowns. I see a lot of field goals coming for them.
I like it. I'm not locking it up, but wholeheartedly endorse that position. You guys ever feel like you're always on? I mean, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're getting pulled one way or the other. It's HQ, it's a podcast, it's a column, it's writing this, it's talk about that, it's a radio hit, TV, radio, and we just never really get a time to chill. Well, thankfully there is Saturday. And thankfully, there is Coors Light, because Coors Light wants you to know that no matter what sport is on this fall, Saturdays are your time to chill. I mean, maybe your team isn't even playing. The Big Ten's back, yes, but, maybe you are a fan of Florida, and Florida, it's going to be a minute. They got things shut down right now. So you've got a full day of football watching, and Coors Light is the perfect beer. There's so many teams. We mentioned 45 games on. So what you need to do is you need to grab Coors Light, which is the official beer of watching college football, then flip through the channels, find a game, and crack open a cold Coors Light. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged, literally made to chill. It's as crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies, and perfect for a moment to unwind on a Saturday watching some college football. So Coors Light is the one that we choose when we need to unwind. And so when you want to hit reset, reach for the beer that's made to chill. Get Coors Light in the new look delivered straight to your door. GetCoorsLight.com. That's GetCoorsLight.com. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Okay, got a couple on the board. We were in the ACC. I think it's time we address the 46-point elephant in the room.
Ooh, you going to dive in there?
Ooh.
So this is the Wofford line, right? I mean, like when Clemson plays Wofford, they get 45. Syracuse is getting the Wofford line. But I understand. So, when you look at Syracuse, they're actually down to around 60 scholarship players because of the combination of opt-outs and injuries. FCS 63 scholarship limit. So I understand why you're handing out the Wofford line here, but I gotta look to history here, and I gotta understand that Syracuse, the last team to win a regular season game against Clemson, and the team that almost did it in 2018 before Chase Bryce came in and was able to keep that undefeated national championship season at play. I got to go to the fact that over the last 3 seasons in FBS play, there have been 6 40-point underdogs in conference play. Now, of those 6 40-point underdogs in conference play, all of them lost by 35 points. But 35 is not our number here, because of those 6 40-point underdogs in conference play, 5 of the 6 covered. There is a magical sweet spot with these 40-point lines in conference play. Arkansas, 41-point dog against LSU in 2019, covered. Rutgers, 52-point underdog against Ohio State in 2019, covered. Maryland did not cover 43 last year against Ohio State, but UConn covered 42 against UCF last year. Kansas covered 41.5 against Oklahoma State, and Illinois in 2017 covered 41.5 against Ohio State. They all lost by 35 points or more, but they all covered those 40-plus point spreads. I am a man of principle. We are not going to let Syracuse get the Wofford line. We are taking the orange. 46. Let's go.
I can get you 46.5.
Let's take it, please. Start the game with the 46.5-0 lead. You score the implied score. I think right now has it. It would be like 8. Let's see, 8 to 54 or 55 or something like that, based on the total here. So can we get 10 points? Come on,
you stop them from scoring 70 again.
Yes, I am a man of principle as well, Chip, and I am joining you in this lock. I went a little further in the research. You did the last 3 years of 40 or more. I went in the college football playoff era of any underdog in conference play, not just of 40 or more, but of 35.5 points or more. And those teams, those underdogs, are 17-10 against the spread. But it's not even about that trend. It's just, no, this is principle. I am not laying 46.5 points. I know that Clemson dog walked, Georgia Tech last week, 73-7. I know that Syracuse lost at home to Liberty, but Clemson is not in the habit of doing that to teams. Dabo has always been just do what we got to do to get through it, get the win, and move on. And then we'll be, as long as we win the ACC, we'll win the ACC, title. We'll get to the college football playoff. I have a sneaking suspicion that there was something that happened between Georgia Tech and Clemson last year that kind of caused Clemson to say, you know what, we're going to rub it in a little bit if we get the chance this year. And that's exactly what they did. But even so, they were up 52-7 at the halftime, and they called off the dogs in the second half. So I don't know if they're going to get 50 points in the first half against this Syracuse team. They might. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be fun, and I don't think we're going to enjoy it. But, you can't always – life isn't about enjoying everything. Sometimes you just got to stand for something, and damn it, I am standing for a 46.5-point dog in a conference game.
So Bud Elliott on the Barton and Bud pod was talking about that. I guess there's a little bit of not a beef, but Dabo maybe doesn't really like the Jeff Collins antics that much, and all the lifting weights on the field before the game last year, and
there we go,
screwing up their turf and all that stuff kind of maybe rubbed Dabo the wrong way. So I also agree that this feels more like, oh, Dino, I know you beat me once, but man, you're a good guy, and let's just keep this civil. So I don't think there'll be any axes to grind in this one. Seems like a lot of points. Agreed.
The way the game played out also was was 6 minutes left in the first quarter at 7-7. Clemson's made some mistakes, and then it was just dunzo with 35-0 in the second quarter. Clemson's mistakes also probably contributed to the way that game got out of hand so quickly. So we'll see. I mean, ever since losing Andre Cisco, All-American candidate at safety, gets hit with an injury and leaves, they've given up almost 1,000 combined yards to Liberty, Duke, and Georgia Tech. This could be bad. Could be really really holding on for dear life here. But men of principle, we are. All right, who's up?
All right, so I got 2 group of 5 plays this week. I'm typically listen to the top 40 station, not the garage band rock indie station. So who knows if I'm a little wading out of my comfort zone, but I actually feel really, really good about these 2 picks. All right. You were talking, Chip, about University of Residual Income, UCF. And you said Bama might be that team this year. How about Liberty? I think we're gonna get some pretty steady dividends on Liberty this year. Just check that mailbox money every weekend, and you're gonna get a little bit from Hugh Freeze. This weekend they're playing Southern Miss. Happens to be Hugh Freeze's alma mater. Think you might want to win that one. They're an 11-point favorite. I don't know if I can get a better number than that. I don't care. I'll take that. Scotty Walden, Southern Miss's head coach, out with COVID. Just to refresh everyone's memory, he is the interim head coach because Jay Hopson was resigned, fired, whatever it was. So they're down two head coaches, 2 coaches on the staff. That's not ideal. but this is a team that already hasn't been playing very well. Like they beat North Texas, but North Texas had all kinds of COVID issues. Even Southern Miss, we're not even really sure what their COVID situation is going to be coming to this game. They might still be a little bit hobbled from the old virus coming into this one as well. But even all that aside, this is just a better Liberty team. They've played fairly comparable schedules. Southern Liberty's played an additional game, but the competition has been fairly comparable. Per game, Liberty is outgaining its opponents by 188 yards per contest. Per game, Southern Miss is undergaining opponents by 88 yards per contest. I just don't think 11 points is enough, so I'm going to go Liberty laying the points. That's it. That's my guy right there. Second pick. Anyone have anything on that one?
I mean, I'm just you've already got the Hugh Freeze. I mean, we're already getting the columns, right? Like, you got when the Bruce Feldman Hugh Freeze spotlight comes out, now the ball's really rolling in the coaching industry.
That's right. And I had the Hugh Freeze column last weekend, sort of like that was the win. Like the Syracuse win was the win that all of a sudden made him relevant again. Now he's going to keep that thing rolling. He wants to stay in the spotlight. This is an important game for him. All right. So next group of 5 Barton special is going to who's Rice playing? Oh, MTSU.
Oh, Rice. Rice is good.
All right. So Rice, what they win 3 games last year, but it was like the last 3 games. Mm-hmm. And it's they haven't played yet this year. Yeah, maybe their roster's a mess because of the COVID stuff. Like I don't know how much they've been able to practice or whatever. But this is the first game of film anyone's got on this team. They're playing an MTSU team. Looked up a few stats here. All right. MTSU, 5th worst in the country in terms of, well, I don't know. They're like 5th in the country in terms of percentage of opponents' total yards have been rushing yards. Like 58% of their opponents' total yards have been rushing yards. That's 5th in the country in that. They are the 8th worst team in the country in average yards per rush. They're giving up 5.57 yards per rush. They're the 3rd worst team in the country in terms of defensive rush EPA, which is, what is that? Let's points added, expected points added. Yeah. This is a team that is terrible against the run. You guys remember that first game we saw of MTSU back when Barton CUSA picked to win the conference, just gave up against an option offense. Just quit against Army.
Oh, I'm hurt. I got to get out. Like
a lot of that. A lot of that. All right. The Rice culture's taken hold a little bit. They found some belief late last year. This is the Mike Bloomgren that's been recruiting tight ends and offensive linemen out the wazoo. He is the guy that the last time Stanford was any good running the football was leading the charge. They are going to try to pound an MTSU team that's already been plenty tenderized heading into this game. They're 10th in the country in terms of the Bill Conley returning production stuff. They returned 17 starters. I mean, how are they not just going to punch MTSU in the damn mouth play after play? I kind of love this. So what am I getting? 3.5 points?
Yeah.
I think that this is a nice little debut for Rice, and it's the perfect team to debut against because MTSU don't want any smoke from anybody right now in the run game.
I love this pick. I love that you're making it, and I want to help you feel better about it. I want to tell you the stat I've been tracking all season long about teams playing like their first game of the year against teams that have already, been on the field for a few games.
A lot of film for MTSU right now.
The team playing its first game is 18-6 against the spread in those 24 games. So
I like it.
The trends are.
Let me lock it up.
Yeah.
Lock agreement. We're bringing up all these stats. I'll bring up a couple for you. With the Maverick and Iceman plays. Lock agreement, Barton and DK are 3-1. It's going to roll to 4-1. I talked to Taylor McCarg, former Rice Owl quarterback who is now in broadcasting.
Dan always coming with the former QBs with the text messages.
He was a guest on the radio show.
Oh, okay.
So I talked to him. He was extremely bullish, excited about Rice. you sold me with all the stats. So I think that's what, like, the discipline, it's selective, seeing opportunity, and then jumping on it. So I'm going to jump on that one. I'm going to jump in the lock agreement play. Anybody else want to get in with us? The Maverick and Iceman play?
Did you got me flashing back to working at La Volta in downtown Raleigh, just prepping veal piccata when you said that they were tenderized. I was just imagine hammering out some veal cutlets just to get them ready for the night during prep time.
I don't want any part of this game.
It's a great one.
Anybody else on it?
No.
All right. I didn't want to play. I've been trying to use this discipline, but I think I found some little maybe possible edges here in the Mountain West. That's right. They're back. I'll give you some group of 5 specials. So Wyoming travels to Reno to take on Nevada, the Wolf Pack, right? Craig Bohl, legendary coach at Wyoming. They've had a lot of success. I think the assumption that, Wyoming, they're going to be the better team. They're going to roll. That's why they are up to a 4.5-point favorite. Doing a little research on this game. By the way, our friend Amanda Guerra, CBS Sports HQ's own Amanda Guerra, is the sideline reporter for this game. I don't have no insider intel. Again, just a note. Aaron Murray on the call as well. Craig Bohl confirmed he's going to play 2 quarterbacks in the open. That's one red flag. Because I'm a firm believer if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, as Sean Chambers has a slight edge over redshirt freshman Levi Williams. Both will see action this weekend. All right, so that's one red flag. The second red flag, the Cowboys last month had 5 players, including 3 projected starters, opt out of the season due to concerns for COVID-19. So the defensive depth took a hit there. On the flip side, Nevada coming off a little momentum, back-to-back bowl trips this season. Their starting quarterback, Carson Strong, played as a freshman last year. It's not great, but a solid year. 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. You may remember him. He threw for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns in his first college start in that big Purdue upset. And then all he did to finish out the season was a season-high 402 yards in there, albeit a loss to Ohio in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. But still, he had some confidence coming in. I think Nevada playing at home, home dog, getting 4.5. I like them. I'm taking the Wolfpack here.
Love it.
I like it.
Pod.
Amanda, if you're listening, you might want to dress a little warm because the weather conditions, the temperatures are going to be in the 60s, but these are wonder conditions we're dealing with. I'm not locking it up as one of my locks, but there will be, 10 to 13 mile per hour winds blowing through, and just any game I've ever seen in Reno, there's going to be like trash bags blowing through on the sidelines too. So you might want to wear something to deal with the wind. Just a heads up there. But no, I love the pick, Danny.
I just I got chills just breaking down Mountain West football games here on the Locks Pod again, because I'll tell you what, that wind doesn't stop. The season goes on, and our conditions only set up for more wonders. It's so what you're saying is that it's gonna be windy in Reno. All right, Tom.
I've got a lot. I've got 4 picks in, and they're all lock agreements. So I'm going to look for somewhere where I'm hoping that maybe I could fly solo. And it's also another wonder. We're heading to a couple miles north of the homestead here. We're heading to Evanston, Illinois. Northwestern is hosting Maryland. The total is 55. And now, gentlemen, I need to remind you that, yes, Northwestern's got a new quarterback this year. It's got a new offensive coordinator. Maryland's going to have a new quarterback this year. But last year in conference play, Northwestern scored 12.7 points per game. Last year in conference play, Maryland scored 16 points per game. Now, I added 16 to 12.7, and I did not get 55. So unless touchdowns in the Big Ten, and maybe this is a rule change I missed, but unless touchdowns are worth 10 points now, there is no way in the world this game is going over 55 points. Give me the under.
Love it. I mean, that's just a fantastic pick. I mean, I'm over here taking notes too for the integrity of competition. And since you said you wanted to fly solo, I'm not going to jump on it. but just
jump on it if you want to. I don't care. It's like I just looked at my board and I was like, wow, that is a lot of blue.
It's a lot of blue.
I thought about playing Northwestern here. Just
a double. They put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, but I feel like this line, like this is a bigger line than I expected. I figured that Vegas would be like Northwestern sucked last year. The public would be, and even just, I know this early, but it seems like the public is still kind of split on this one too. So that's reason enough for me to just sort of wait this one out and see what happens.
Let's keep it in the Big Ten because one of the other spots that I'm looking, again, I'm not going to blind all unders for this weekend in the Big Ten, but I don't know how many points Nebraska is going to score against Ohio State. And while Nebraska's defense has been concerning, I've got to think that there's like, if it's not necessarily like a little bit knocking the rust off or slowly getting in the flow of things for Justin Fields and this Ohio State offense, maybe it's Nebraska shows up and gives us 2 quarters of solid effort. But this total is at 67.5. We've talked about the trends that suggest 2 teams playing their first games. Trends are to the under. I don't think Nebraska is going to be able to score many points against not just one of the best defenses in the Big Ten, but one of the best defenses in the country. I look at that game, big noon Saturday. Give me under 67.5 for Ohio State, Nebraska.
I can get you 68.5.
Let's take it.
And I know that because lock agreement. Why a total near 70 points in a Big Ten game? What is this? The SEC? Come on.
Yeah.
No,
come on.
I agree with you. I mean, this is such a situation where I know that Nebraska's defense is bad, and Ohio State, if it wants to, can probably just pick its score. But to me, I look at this game and I see an Ohio State team that knows that it is pretty much it's college football playoff or bust. That's the reason Ohio State wanted to be back. And it's also a situation in which we have a compacted schedule where there are no bye weeks. So I think Ohio State is going to take control of this game early. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of starters playing a whole lot of minutes in this game because Ryan Day is going to want to keep his starters healthy and his team ready week to week. So any chance, I think this year, especially in the Big Ten, you can get to rest your starters to make sure that they're healthy and able to play next week and their bodies are just, getting more time to recover, you're going to take it. So I don't think we're going to see Ohio State's offense doing a whole lot in the second half of this game because I think it's going to be over before halftime. But at the same time, that same reason makes me not want to really take them against the spread here, although I do think they're going to cover that as well. So I think the under is the smartest play on the board.
I don't need to have my arm twisted to look at Big Ten unders in any season, but to introduce that idea of trying to keep your team fresh, I like that as something to take into consideration. Who's up?
I'll take us back to the ACC, to Chapel Hill. I gave you the stat earlier about ranked versus ranked matchups, the success of the favorites in those games, 10-1 versus against the spread in that spot. North Carolina finds itself as what's the best number I can get here?
14.5?
14.5.
14.5, yeah.
We've talked a lot about this game. Bailey Hawkman back in the absence of Devin Leary. North Carolina, yes, they lost last week to Florida State. I think the couple plays late, maybe possibly could have come out with a heroic win. I think this team, it was a great week you can have for Mac Brown because you can coach him up a little bit harder, say, hey, we got too caught up in the success. Let's get right back to work. Sam Howell had a really strong game, one of his best games yet this year. I think they'll be able to get the run game going against NC State. And I do not. And plus, North Carolina has been a different team playing at home in Chapel Hill. I don't think this game is going to be close. I think North Carolina rolls. I know NC State is 4-1, but we were talking about kind of teams. The rankings aren't real rankings. I don't know if they're necessarily the 23rd best team in the country. I am going to take the heels here and lay the 14.5.
Yep. Only 2 results here. North Carolina wins by 20 or NC State wins outright. So I'm going to take half of that now, and we'll see if the other half comes later. This is only the third time in 110 meetings between North Carolina and NC State that both teams have been in the top 25. There are no moral victories. There is only heartbreak for one fan base. And so I'm going North Carolina by 20.
The right play. Bailey Hockman's. You guys, the quotes coming out of NC State this week about the quarterback situation were not confidence inspiring. It was things like
Finley better be ready.
No, it was stuff like we trust Bailey to get it done. He's going to prove that he's a FBS quarterback this weekend. He's gonna. Oh, and another one was like, you know what? Like, it doesn't matter who's back there. We trust the offense. We trust the game plan. You could put our center back there and we'd be okay. Like just things like that, which was like they weren't intentionally trying to throw Bailey Hockman under the bus, but it was clear like they understand they're working from a deficit at the quarterback position now that Devin Leary's out.
That tells me that NC State's sitting there looking at its quarterback situation and somebody asked, what if we tried our center back there?
So Ryan Finley's little brother, Ben, is on the roster. We may see little Finley in this game. Might be time to go out there and let Bailey Hockman throw a pick or have a couple 3 and outs early in the game. I think that they're open-minded in that offensive staff room right now.
All right. I'll go Big 12 here. I think this is an interesting matchup, Oklahoma-TCU. So there's TCU has been, that's obviously that's a well-coached team. They've got Max Duggan when he's playing well. He can cook. Their offensive line has been a little bit of an issue, but they've still got playmakers. But meanwhile, Oklahoma is as problematic as the defense has been at times. They showed, some encouraging signs against Texas. Spencer Rattler, turnover worthy a lot, is still a uniquely talented quarterback. And Oklahoma still might be the best team in the Big 12 in terms of just neutral site, one game, best of 10, whatever it is. They might just be the best team in the Big 12. So I'm going 2 plays on this one. I'm going Oklahoma -6.5, and I'm going over 59.5. I just thought that was surprisingly low. Like, TCU's capable of scoring points. I think Oklahoma, coming off a bye week, is going to have tightened a few of the screws. I get it. Gary Patterson's coming off a bye week too, and he's got some good defensive game plans. But I just think that Oklahoma is going to continue to improve. I think they're going to score points. I like both those to hit, and I got to feel like at least the over does, if not OU as well.
Maverick and Iceman, baby.
Oh, no.
Wow. Oh, you're on it. You want it first?
Yeah.
Are you on both of them?
No, I'm on Oklahoma.
Okay, I'm just on Oklahoma too.
All right.
You see my notes right here where I read them? See the dollar sign right there next to Oklahoma? That's the confirmation that I needed. Written in green, Oklahoma -6.5. I think Spencer Rattler, first year starting, massive expectations. And I think it showed early in the season, trying to do too much. Then in a rivalry game gets benched, but comes back, leads them to an impressive victory. I think he's gotten a little bit of glimpse of, okay, I don't have to be superhuman. I can just play within myself. I think that was a massive kind of sigh of relief for him. Now he can relax, let the system work. By the way, they also have the UCLA transfer lineman, Chris Murray, has been ruled eligible to add to their offensive line depth.
Oh, nice. I didn't see that.
Yeah, so I like Oklahoma in this spot as well. I'm tempted to get with you on the total, but I'll go ahead and discipline and just lay the 6.5 and take Oklahoma. Because I'm with you. I think they still might be the best team in the Big 12, even though they've got 2 losses.
I thought, like, you were talking about, head and heart, or head, like gut and science, and trying to mix it all together. This was a hunch. I think that the way that they came back and won that game, and then with a week off, I just think that you're going to come and you're going to get a really strong performance from the Sooners. And, we'll come out of this weekend talking like they're still in the mix to win the Big 12 championship. So I like Oklahoma.
I will say this too, like on a number like that, 6.5, and there's a couple of these other key numbers. I would, if you can out there, I would, as soon as you hear this, if you like it, bet it. I'm going to bet it as soon as we get off this call, because there's been a couple of times this year where like the line has moved approaching Saturday, and I hit it on the pod, but I didn't hit it in real life because I was too slow making the pick. So
don't let this get to 7.5 in a game that very much could be a touchdown game. I 100% agree with you there.
I wish you three gentlemen luck in your endeavor.
Thank you.
I would like the over. Oklahoma home overs are Oklahoma overs are the play there, but this game is in Fort Worth. But good luck there. All right, who wants it?
I've got 2 plays left. I don't know how many you guys have.
Let me clean up this card.
I've got
Chip's got 45 plays left.
I've got somewhere between 0 and 3.
Yeah.
All right, well,
go ahead.
I'll go. It's one of the bigger games of the weekend, and we haven't mentioned it yet. I'm taking Iowa State plus 3.5 points at Oklahoma State. I know Barton loves the Pokes. The Pokes are Barton's favorite team, and the Pokes are the greatest team in the Big 12, and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. They're a good team, and they might get Spencer Sanders back this week. It's just as good as the defense has been and as good as the offense has been without Spencer Sanders, I don't know if I can trust any of it, because they haven't, like, you hear this all the time, but they haven't played anybody. Like, oh, wow, you crushed Kansas. Cool. Oh, you beat Tulsa. Great. Iowa State lost to Louisiana, but it's been tested in better games against TCU, which it won. It beat Oklahoma. I haven't seen Oklahoma State have to do anything like that. So going into this matchup, I have more trust for the Cyclones than I do for the Cowboys. And it doesn't hurt that I've mentioned this before. Matt Campbell, as an underdog in the Big 12 since taking over at Iowa State, is 17-5 against the spread. So if I can get the field goal with the hook, I'm going to take it. I'm locking it up with the Cyclones.
Anybody?
Interesting decision to wade into those waters, but have at it.
Are you going to fight?
No, nah, it's I have no idea.
Believe in his Cowboys.
I do believe in my Cowboys. I absolutely believe in my Cowboys. But as a reformed Matt Campbell stan, I also acknowledge that Matt Campbell could rise up on these, because Matt Campbell's sort of a giant killer, right? Like, and so Oklahoma State's the new giant in the Big 12, and so you got to be wary when you're playing somebody like that. So no, I'll stay away.
Barton not really showing a ton of confidence in Oklahoma State covering 3.5.
He's got to win these games. He's got to win.
Tom showing a lot of confidence in those. Matt Campbell against the spread numbers as an underdog. All of it falls short of the kind of confidence that you could have wearing some of the new items that are available from Express. And we actually have a deal for you. You can receive $25 off a $50 purchase by texting football, FOOTBALL, football to 397-737. Again, you can text football. We have tested this code. This is the one. Text football to 397-737 to receive $25 off your $50 purchase of Express clothes. And so you can put together these outfits, and it's great because the focus from Express right now is on comfort and versatility. It is the kind of outfit that you could wear all through the day. It feels comfortable, like your favorite sweatpants that you might have on in the morning or before you go to bed, but it is flattering enough that you want to go out into whatever socially distanced interactions that you have, whatever work you have to do outside of the house. You can feel like you've got those sweatpants on, but know that you've got on something that's nice. And when it comes to wearing it through the day, you need it to be able to be wrinkle resistant, and Express has that wrinkle resistant fabric. It's great for traveling, extra stretch for all day comfort. So go and text football to 397-737 to receive $25 off your $50 purchase. Put these Express pieces into your wardrobe, and you will have the confidence that you need to go and achieve your goals without any stress about what you're wearing and whether it can make it through the day. It is sensible, it is pragmatic, and it feels great. Text football to 397-737 and receive $25 off your $50 purchase from Express.
What was that code again?
Football.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not
All right.
basketball. All right.
How about the Fighting Spavatols? Texas State plus 28 and a hook against BYU. I know that I've been a proponent of big time BYU. You get them in these spots on a Friday night or a Thursday night or a Monday night or in the late spot on Saturday. I mean, we have spent too much time hanging out with Texas State this season to not feel confident that they can put up a fight, that they can at least maybe kick in a backdoor right here against BYU at 28 and a hook. I mean, what's it like? Tom had it. They were 33-point favorites. Then they went down to 4.5, 5-point favorites. And that game was close. BYU hit the gas, 22 points in the fourth quarter, none for Houston. But that game being competitive, now all of a sudden we're going to draw it back out to 4+ touchdowns. Give me the Bobcats plus 28.5. We've enjoyed watching this team. Texas State did get us the cover against South Alabama. Oh no, they didn't. They lost. It felt like it. I didn't have it as a lock, but Tom did.
I did.
Yeah. Whatever. Let's go. Texas State plus 28.5.
I got you 29.5.
29.5. Come on. Giddy up, Bobcats.
I fully support it. I am not locking it up. Barton, I know you're a big G5 guy. How do you feel about Texas State and 29.5 points?
I've been totally tuned out of that last breakdown as I try to narrow my list down. I've been crunching some numbers over here, trying to get some winners. So, good luck, whatever it was.
All right. I'm gonna throw one more out and then I'm gonna be done. Wait, all right. So I've got one left. How many? And then moneyline sprinkles.
I've narrowed my list down to 0 to 2.
I got one.
Yo, go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
All right, I'll go. Going to the ACC. I'm going with a team that lost by 67, 63, what was it? 66 points last week. I'm taking Georgia Tech plus 3.5 against Boston College. And I was a believer in Boston College last week. I locked up Boston College against Virginia Tech. And then I went and watched Boston College get run all over by Virginia Tech. And Georgia Tech's offense is not the same kind of explosive rushing offense that Virginia Tech's has been, but very few are. But I do think that if you look at the Georgia Tech offense, they have a lot of similarities to what Virginia Tech is doing with their quarterback and their running back. And I think that Jeff Collins and the coaching staff probably watched a lot of that tape from Virginia Tech's game, the Virginia Tech game last week, and said, we could probably implement some of this into our game against the North Carolina State defense, Boston College defense that is not doing very well against the run. So I think Georgia Tech is going to bounce back this week and get the cover. And also, to be perfectly blunt, the fact that Georgia Tech lost 73-7 last week and the books are still coming back and only making them a 3.5-point dog in this matchup, that kind of sent up some alarm bells to be like, the line stinks a little bit, but I think it smells good. So I'm going to take the Yellow Jackets plus 3.5.
So much agreement.
Yeah.
I think that Boston College might turn into a pumpkin. I think that Jeff Hafley, year one, got out to a great start, but I think things are starting to turn. I think Georgia Tech might win this outright. I love locking it up at 3.5. Overreaction to the Yellow Jackets getting blown out of the water. So give me Georgia Tech.
That's 4 lock agreements between you and I this week. So either we're going to do really well or we are about to fall way behind both Barton and Danny.
You guys are already 4 and 5 in lock agreements. That's your current record. So you could make a big turnaround, get above 500.
We're going to do it this week, baby. We're going 4-0. All
right. I'm going to go to the American top 25 matchups. Cincinnati taking on SMU on the road. SMU just lost Reggie Roberson and TJ McDaniel on the offensive side of the ball. Those two combined for 782 yards of offense and 6 total touchdowns so far this season. They got some playmakers, yes, but This will be by far the best defense they have faced. Cincinnati's defense, first overall defense in the conference. It's already holding opponents to just 306 total yards per game. Matchup of strength on strength. SMU is currently fourth in the entire FBS in total offense. Desmond Ridder has been playing a little bit better, a little bit more consistency from the quarterback position. He's got some weapons to work with of his own. It opened, Cincinnati was a 1.5-point favorite. It swung all the way around to where they're now a 2.5-point dog. I'm going to take those points. Luke Fickell, now you may be worried, hey, they lost a game last week. I don't know if you guys saw this. Luke Fickell's official comment was, quote, "We might have panicked a little bit in calling off the game versus Tulsa." So maybe the situation isn't as bad as some people think. Give me Cincinnati. I think they're the better team in this matchup.
So I had, when I was crunching numbers while Chip was breaking down Texas State, I had 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 5 games that I was trying to narrow down to just hone this thing down. And I crossed Cincinnati off the list because I just typically have like a G5 maximum that I'm willing to play every weekend. And I already sort of blown my wad with Liberty and Rice. So I'm gonna throw some good mojo back Danny's way. Maverick and Iceman back on it again.
We need a drop. We need a drop sometime soon.
So yeah, like I think and you know, this is a Cincinnati team whose strength is in the secondary. They've got outstanding cornerback play. I think Luke Fickell is the real deal. It's a little bit hard to figure out how they win sometimes because the offense is a little plodding, but I think they're the better team too. So I'm with you.
Danny, you threw that out on Tuesday's HQ show, and I was doing a deep dive. I'm not locking it up. My lean here is actually on the under, and that's probably a Cincinnati win in that case. But if you throw out the Austin Peay game, small sample size, but we still have yet to see Desmond Ridder throw for better than 62% completion percentage with 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He's getting some more consistency, but there's a lot there's a lot of consistency that's left for him right there.
Yeah, left to be desired.
Yeah, a lot of runway left for Desmond Ridder in his path to being a real game changer. But the defense is just so sick. And you mentioned the pass defense in particular. They've only played 3 games, and I think they are tied for the nation's lead in interceptions. They've got 3 players who have 2 interceptions already on the season. Stupid.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got one more. While it's been all lovey-dovey here between Maverick and Iceman, I'm just curious to see if we might get some dissent here among the ranks. Based on our conversation on the Big Ten win totals podcast, we have Rutgers. This is probably not the smartest play, but Fornelli, can I get 16.5 points?
Whoa.
No, the best I can find right now is 13.5.
All right, because I did see, did it open at 16.5?
It opened at 16.5, but everybody listened to the Big Ten East win totals podcast.
They might have.
Jumping on Rutgers.
All right, I'm going to use discipline. I'm going to back off. I'm stepping away. I'm stepping away. Because I think this is a 2-touchdown game. I want to take Rutgers so bad, but I'm going to use some discipline. I don't love the number, so I'm going to step away.
Sprinkle it.
Whoa. 27-0 last year. Rutgers got a lot of new faces, new staff. They weren't necessarily one of the quickest to open during the summer months. I think you're smart to stay away personally.
New staff at Michigan State too.
You're right. No, I mean, like Michigan State's vulnerable, I'm sure. Like, all right, fair enough. You on it?
No.
Oh.
I'm out till moneyline sprinkles.
All right, so I'll go with one more at least. I think I'm going to stay off that last one. My final lock, I believe. I think I'm going to stay away from Minnesota. I'll let you guys have Minnesota. I'm not going to unite the clans there. But you remember, like last week, I talked about Kansas and fading Kansas, and basically it's like the equivalent of getting free access yards in an offense, right? Like the cornerback's off, just throw it over to him, get 5 yards. last weekend was basically like the equivalent of having free access yards and then just dropping the pass. You know, you got 6 yards and just the receiver just doesn't catch it. So it's second and 10 instead of 2nd and 4. I think that we still got a friendly line here to work with. So I'm gonna take some free access yards. I can get under 21, right? It's 20.
I can get you 19.5.
I'll take 19.5. I know Kansas State is operating with a backup quarterback. I get it. Puka Williams is gone for Kansas. He's opting out. That's not like the end of the world for Kansas. I just think we're still not at a point yet where Kansas is ready to start competing with teams. And Kansas State, I think, is going to be able, like, this is a kind of like a semi-rivalry. I just think
the
Kansas
Sunflower Showdown, baby.
Yeah, I guess it's a real rivalry. It's just, a rivalry no one really pays much attention to. So Kansas State, I think that I think this team, Deuce Vaughn, that defense tackles really well. I think that they're gonna stifle that Kansas offense, and they're gonna get some breakaway big plays and figure out a way to get to 28.
Respect.
I'm good with it. Yeah.
All good. That's fine with me. All right. Moneyline sprinkle time. So the Moneyline sprinkle scoreboard is set up as such. Tom, 3-3, but he's up 3.55 units. Danny, 3-2, up 3.5 units. Barton, 1-4, down 1.75 units. Chip, 2-6, down 2.65 units. Tom, what does the sprinkle card look like this week?
I've got to. I'm going to start with the smaller one. I'm going to take Danny's Florida State Seminoles. Let's see what the best I can get. Plus 166 on the road against Louisville, because Louisville isn't very good. Sorry, Barton. I still like Scott Satterfield. I still like what they're doing there. It's just, I have not seen anything from Louisville this year that fills me with confidence to not only just take them as this large of a favorite, but to take them to win this game. I think Florida State's the more talented team. I think Florida State wins this game often enough to justify taking it at plus 166.
All right. What's your next one?
My next one, sorry, Barton.
Just coming for the throat.
Rutgers plus 400 on the road against Michigan State. I told you on the Locks Pod they're going to win a game. I guaranteed they're going to win a game. There's only 2 games on this schedule that they're capable of winning. This is one of them. Plus 400. Let's go.
Just kiss that money goodbye. Just say goodnight, tuck it in, never to see it again. There was a Cover 3 podcast listener DM me a screenshot of his bookie or book offering a Rutgers 1.5 win total on the season, and it was minus 130 to the over. So it's actually juiced to the over. I told him dive all over that one. I don't know where they're getting 2. I don't think even y'all Rutgers fans think they can get to 2, but look, hey, if they're going to do it, this better be the one. I mean, this may be their best shot this weekend. So, all right, I guess I can rock with that if that's your theory.
All right, Danny.
All right, I have had some success here in the SEC as of late. Couple calls last week. Been riding the South Carolina Gamecocks train a little bit. They're taking on LSU this weekend. Miles Brennan most likely won't play. Ed Ogeron's been very coy about who's going to play in his absence. They got issues galore going on in Baton Rouge, right? The Odell Beckham news came out, self-imposed penalties against him. It's a mess. I have no idea where this team is mentally, but I have a hunch it's not in a good place. On the flip side, you've got South Carolina, who's been much better than expected this year. Played Tennessee tough early. Played Florida tough early, get back on track with a convincing win against Vanderbilt, 41-7. Then they knock off Auburn this past week to kind of continue that positive mojo. Now they have to go on the road to Baton Rouge, right? What do we use? Oh, that's the toughest place to play in college football. And guess what? It's not going to be the toughest place to play in college football. They're not going to have that home field advantage. They won't have that energy level amped up where it usually is Death Valley at night. Ooh, scary place. South Carolina gets the outright win against LSU. What's my number?
190.
I'll take it.
Danny,
Same
I
as
don't
you
know
had
what's
with Kentucky.
I don't know what's going on, Danny, but you and me are just gonna ride this thing out together, bro. This is another trip up to the sky to go hunting for MIGs because I am on it. I know too much about these two true freshman LSU quarterbacks to feel like they're going to win this game. I do think like the reason I have this as a money line instead of against the spread, because yes, I guess I could see this sort of things just running out for South Carolina here and LSU circling the wagons and, having a really impressive performance. And at some points, this defense has got to start figuring things out. But I mean, this offense is built around Joe Burrow last year, Miles Brennan this year, who say what you want about Miles Brennan. He's been very accurate and efficient so far this season. Now you're going to ask one of these two true freshman quarterbacks to come in. And look, these guys are talented. Max Johnson is big. He's Brad Johnson's son. He's athletic. He could play tight end in the SEC. Truly, I think he can. But he is a career 52% passer in high school. He has 49 touchdowns to 22 interceptions in high school. Those aren't great numbers, like for a high school quarterback. The TJ Finley, a career 50% passer in high school, 57 touchdowns to 22 interceptions in high school. These guys are not ready, I don't think. And so I think that the depth chart for LSU and not having just sort of a true backup here is going to sting them. And I don't know what the offense is going to look like. And so I think South Carolina can put together a good defensive game plan and limit this team. And also, I don't know if y'all saw Jalen Brooks, Tarleton State grad transfer, just got his waiver approved by the NCAA for South Carolina. They really only have Shi Smith as a dominant receiver threat. This kid, Jalen Brooks, apparently was just balling in preseason practice, and they think he's a stud. So if that's another good option for Colin Hill in that offense, I think South Carolina might end up just being the better team. So I will also take the money line here.
Okay, I've got three. This is 3.
Wow.
Number one.
Chip, hold on, Chip. I just want to point out that you're 2-6 in the money line sprinkles, and you're down the most units, and you keep firing off too many money line sprinkles every single week.
Okay,
you're not
fine.
Sprinkling, bro. You are money line frosting.
Okay, I will trim it to 2. I wanted to have a thin because I've got too fat.
Don't get bullied, Chip.
I'm not bullying him. I'm trying to help him.
Load it up, Chip. Load it up.
All right, I'm loading it up. Number one, I think the heat on the seat is just going to continue to crank up. We're going to go Ole Miss plus 170, 150.
No, 140 is the best I can get you.
All right, Ole Miss
144.
Plus,
I found a 144.
all right, I'll go Ole Miss plus 144. I think the Rebels win that game outright. I think that I agree, and I love the Dennis opinion on the Ole Miss over. Okay, now let's get to the 2. Number 1, as I mentioned before, either North Carolina wins by 20 or NC State wins outright. So give me NC State plus 475.
That is an absurd pick.
And number 2 is the because it would be funny principle. And there's been too much agreement already, but the because it would be funny principle is Rutgers on the field against Michigan State, the same Rutgers program that all of college football has laughed at for the last 3 years. For Greg Schiano to come in there with the transfer portal all-stars and get a win, Rutgers on the field. So give me Ole Miss, NC State, and Rutgers.
See here, I'm supporting you, okay? You always have my support, but this is the flaw because you took Ole Miss plus 144, and that's a game that the Rebels could easily win, and then you'd get to 144, but then you're going to lose 2 units on NC State and Rutgers, and you're still going to come up short.
Listen, man, all we need is for one of those 2 big ones to hit.
So then only take the 2 big ones.
Nah, this is it. Yeah, it's what's done is done is done. Watch them both hit. Then all of a sudden, who's going to be laughing? Okay, to review. 45 games. It's a big card here. Tom, Illinois plus 20, Pitt plus 11, Minnesota plus 3, Iowa State plus 3, under 68.5 in Nebraska, Ohio State, under 55, Maryland, Northwestern, Syracuse plus 46.5, Georgia Tech plus 3.5. Barton, also on Illinois, the over in Ole Miss Auburn, and that is also a dentist lock. Liberty minus 11, Oklahoma minus 6.5, Rice minus 3.5, the over in 58.5, Cincinnati plus 2.5, and Kansas State minus 19.5. The over Army rides in Fort Worth and in Oxford. Chip, it's got the under 51.5 in Illinois, Wisconsin, Alabama minus 21, Minnesota plus 3, Oklahoma minus 6.5, the under in Nebraska, Ohio State, UNC minus 14.5, Syracuse plus 46.5, Georgia Tech plus 3.5, and Texas State plus 29.5. Danny, UAB never lost, plus 2.5, Pitt plus 11, Nevada plus 4.5, Oklahoma minus 6.5, Rice minus 3.5, UNC minus 14.5, and Cincinnati plus 2.5. The money line sprinkles for Tom, Florida State and Rutgers, for Barton, South Carolina, for Chip, Ole Miss, NC State and Rutgers, and for Danny, South Carolina. A lot of agreement. We will either be rising or falling together by the end of this weekend.
Or perfectly 500.
Or just pushing everything around. A little bit of win
around the table, yeah.
A little bit of loss. I just leave the table with enough to tip the dealer, and that's about it.
Hey, the syndicate's up about 7 units on the year. That's all you can ask for. Just if that's a good thing. If we're all doing well and we're all in agreement, then that's everyone wins.
Yeah, that was 96, 81, and 1 on the season. Great stuff. You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fennell. You can follow him at Danny Cannell. You can follow him at Barton Simmons. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.